Today, everyone fears deepfakes and fake news. But the unsettling truth is simple. AI changed the tools, not the playbook. Long before neural networks, people were already using montage, staging, retouching, censorship, and framing to make images look like proof. And the real danger has always been the same. People tend to believe a powerful image before they stop to question it. The camera starts lying. One of the clearest early examples is the image of Abraham Lincoln that many people assume is a classic portrait. In reality, it was a composite print. Lincoln's head placed onto the body and background of an earlier image of John C. Calhoun. Even in the 19th century, photography was not just recording a person. It was already building a legend. And this was not a one-off trick. Very quickly, photography became a playground for double exposures, overlays, composites, and hand retouching. The public was only beginning to treat photos as evidence, while darkroom professionals had already learned the rule that still runs the internet today. If an image looks convincing, people will fill in the rest themselves. Ghosts, fairies, and viral hoaxes. After the American Civil War, William Mumler built a business on spirit photography. In a grieving country, his ghost images looked less like a trick and more like hope. People paid serious money for portraits that seemed to show dead relatives returning. Skeptics called it fraud, but emotion beat logic. Then came the Cottingley Fairies. In 1917, two cousins produced photographs that appeared to show real fairies. Adults debated them seriously. Famous people believed them. Later, it was revealed that the fairies were just cut-out drawings pinned into place. Paper, hat pins, careful angles, and suddenly you had proof of magic. At the same time, the US and Canada were flooded with exaggeration postcards, giant vegetables, monster fish, oversized rabbits, and huge grasshoppers. These were early visual sensations, collages, scale tricks, composite images, and perspective manipulation. In many ways, they were the first viral images. Funny, shareable, documentary-looking, and completely engineered. No AI, no Photoshop, just scissors, glue, glass plates, and a dark room. And then war took those same tricks and made them dangerous. War as directed reality. One of the most disturbing facts in photography history is that deception often does not look like pure invention. It looks like slightly adjusted truth. That is why the case of Alexander Gardner is so important. Later research showed that in one famous Civil War image, the body of a dead soldier was likely moved to create a more dramatic composition, a stronger visual story of war. The death was real, the body was real, but what the public received was reality placed inside a directed frame. That is what makes this so powerful. It is not pure fiction. It is real tragedy, arranged to hit harder. And once that principle enters the age of mass newspapers and propaganda, one image can shape the mood of an entire country. Flags become myths. Some photographs stop being photographs and become national myths, and almost always there is a more complicated truth behind them. Iwo Jima, the real shot, the built myth. The flag-raising photo on Iwo Jima is one of the most recognizable images of the 20th century. For millions, it represents the moment of victory. But the reality was more complicated. Joe Rosenthal's famous image captured the second raising of the flag, not the first. And this is the key nuance. Rosenthal did not ask the Marines to pose for the famous shot. He captured a real moment, the replacement of a smaller flag with a larger one. The staging happened later in a different sense, in the way the image was selected, amplified, and turned into the defining visual of the battle by the press and government. The image was not fake, but public memory did what it still does today with viral visuals. It compressed a complex event into one perfect version. One image became a finished myth. It was so powerful that many Americans came away with the emotional impression that victory was close, even though the battle continued and far more bloodshed was still ahead. A real photo, and still a misleading emotional conclusion. Reichstag, real victory, retouched memory. The Soviet photo of the flag over the Reichstag worked the same way, but with even more visible intervention. The victory was real, the moment mattered, but the published image was refined. Compromising details removed, drama intensified, the scene made stronger for mass memory. And the most vivid detail is this. Photographer Yevgeny Kaldey reportedly scratched a second watch off the wrist of the Soviet soldier supporting the flag bearer, using a needle on the negative, to avoid accusations of looting. In other words, the image was not just cleaned up, it was physically altered by hand, at the source, so the symbolic victory would look morally spotless. That is one of the most uncomfortable truths in this story. The most influential images were often not total lies, they were polished half-truths. Iwo Jima and the Reichstag came from opposite sides of the war, but the principle was the same. Once a photo becomes historically important, people try to make it more powerful than reality was. And when governments realize they can do more than enhance an image, when they realize they can clean it, myth-making turns into something darker. Erasing people from history. It is one thing to retouch smoke or remove an awkward detail. It is something else entirely to remove a person from a photograph meant to survive as history. The most famous example is Stalin and Nikolai Yezhov. In one official image, they stand together. Then Yezhov falls from power, is destroyed, and soon disappears from photographs. He was there, then he was gone, and the image was altered so it would feel as if he had never been there at all. That is what makes Stalinist retouching so disturbing. It was not cosmetic editing. It was a visual continuation of repression. First, the person is removed from power, then from life, then from memory. And Yezhov was not the only one. Other figures, including Trotsky, were also removed from Soviet imagery. The archive stopped being a record of the past and became a tool of the present. A smaller but revealing version of the same logic appears in the famous Mussolini on horseback image, where a handler holding the horse was removed so Mussolini would look heroic and naturally commanding. Just one assistant erased, and suddenly the myth looks real. The ultimate trick: designing history before it happens. There is a level beyond retouching, designing the image before it is taken. Take lunch atop a skyscraper, 1932. It looks like the camera accidentally captured pure American courage. Workers casually eating on a beam high above Manhattan. But it was a publicity shot during construction at Rockefeller Center. The men were real. The height was real. The danger was real, but the image was also built to spread as an icon. The same logic appeared in wartime censorship. George Strock's photograph of dead American soldiers on Buna Beach was real, but when it could be published was heavily controlled. The truth existed. It was simply rationed. That is why deepfakes are not just a technology story. The real issue began much earlier, the moment people realized they did not just have to capture history, they could choose which version of history everyone else would see. And since then, only the tools changed. Scissors and glue became layers and masks. The darkroom became an algorithm. The principle stayed the same. If an image is strong enough, it can beat the truth before the truth gets a chance to speak.